Every day the world will try to shake you. A rude word, a delay, a failure, a disrespect. And if you're not trained, your emotions will lead, not your reason. But the Stoics knew better. They taught that anger and anxiety aren't enemies from the outside. They are weaknesses we allow to live inside us, unchecked. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, faced betrayal, war, and disease. But he did not crumble. Why? Because he understood one thing: you have power over your mind, not outside events. That's where real strength lives. Not in domination, but in self-control. Not in rage, but in reason. Not in panic, but in purpose. This video isn't just about avoiding anger or suppressing anxiety. It's about building a mindset so steady that the storms of life can't move it. It's about rewiring your instincts, sharpening your awareness, and becoming immune to the noise that once owned you. You don't have to react like everyone else. You were made to be stronger, calmer, and wiser. So today, we walk the Stoic path. 10 powerful lessons that will harden your mind, soften your heart, and free you from the chains of emotional chaos. Let us begin. Number 1. Master the first response. The moment something upsets you, a sharp comment, a careless mistake, a disappointing result, you are faced with a choice, and that choice comes faster than most people realize. It's not the situation that controls you, it's your first response to it. That split second where your heart starts to race, where your mind leaps into defense mode, where your ego wants to react. That is the battlefield, and if you're untrained, you'll lose before the fight even begins. The Stoics believed that between stimulus and response, there is a sacred space, a moment of decision. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Marcus Aurelius lived this principle. As emperor, he didn't have the luxury of emotional outbursts. His role required restraint, clarity, and composure. When chaos broke out in the empire, he didn't react with panic. He paused, he evaluated. Then he responded with reason. That pause is everything. Most people are slaves to their impulses. Someone offends them, and they lash out. A problem appears, and they spiral into anxiety. But the Stoic sees the same events and remains unmoved, not because he feels nothing, but because he is trained to respond only with what is useful, not what is emotional. To master the first response, you must first practice stillness. When something triggers you, resist the urge to react immediately. Breathe, observe the emotion rising, name it. This is anger, this is fear, this is pride. When you name it, you separate from it. You remind yourself, I am not this emotion, I am the one observing it. Next, ask a simple question: what's the wise move here? Not the satisfying move, not the emotional move, the wise move. This reframes your focus from reaction to intention. The angry man thinks short-term, the calm man thinks long-term. One ruins relationships, the other builds trust. One speaks words he later regrets, the other speaks only when his words carry purpose. Training your first response is not about suppression, it's about awareness. It's about creating distance between the feeling and the action, and that distance is where discipline lives. Every time you choose the pause, you build strength. You are reprogramming your nervous system. You are shifting from reactivity to mastery. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. That's the key. Most problems don't require a reaction. They require observation, clarity, and in many cases, no action at all. To become immune to anger and anxiety, start here. Catch the first spark before it becomes a wildfire. Hold the wheel steady while others swerve off the road. This is not just emotional control, it's leadership. It's wisdom in action. It's how you take command of your life, one response at a time. Number 2. Choose stillness over outburst. When the world pushes you, your instinct may be to push back. When someone insults you, your reflex may be to raise your voice, defend yourself, or strike with words that burn. But the Stoics offer a different path, one of stillness, not outburst, because they understood something that many still do not. Silence is not weakness, it is strength refined. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it." In a moment of conflict, stillness is your power. It's not passive, it's not surrender, it's control. It's you refusing to let the chaos outside infect the calm inside. In modern life, most people believe that loudness equals power, that quickness to react is a sign of confidence. But what if it's not? What if those who always explode are simply revealing their lack of control? The Stoic doesn't respond to fire with fire. He responds with water. He cools the situation because he has cooled himself first. Stillness begins with restraint. When you feel the rise of anger or the pressure of anxiety, stillness says, "Wait, let the feeling pass through you like a wave, not a wall. Count to 3. Breathe. Become aware of your heartbeat. The more still you remain, the more clearly you see, because no good decision is ever made in the middle of emotional fog." Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Stillness is not about hiding from challenges. It's about meeting them with clear eyes and a steady hand. It's about resisting the need to match energy with energy. When someone shouts, let them shout into the wind. When someone provokes, let their provocation pass through the silence of your discipline. Choosing stillness doesn't mean you never act. It means you act deliberately, not impulsively. When your mind is calm, your actions are sharp. When your thoughts are still, your decisions are wise. And when others lose control, your restraint becomes your shield. This kind of calm presence must be trained. It is not natural to everyone, but it is available to anyone. Practice it when the stakes are low, in traffic, in small annoyances, in petty conversations. And when the big tests come, betrayal, conflict, injustice, you will already know how to remain still. You will not be caught off guard. The person who can remain calm while others rage becomes unshakable. The one who doesn't need to raise their voice to be heard commands real respect. In a world full of noise, stillness becomes the loudest message. Choose it, guard it, and let it speak for you. Number 3. Expect the unreasonable. If you wake up each day expecting everything to go smoothly, you've already set a trap for yourself. The Stoics knew this well. Life is unpredictable. People are flawed. Delays will happen. Someone will cut in line. A friend will disappoint you. A stranger may insult you. And if you treat every inconvenience as a personal betrayal, you'll live in a state of constant frustration. Marcus Aurelius, even as Emperor of Rome, began his days with a reminder: when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, today I will meet people who are interfering, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Why would someone of such power start his day like that? Because he understood that expectation shapes reaction. When you expect difficulty, you aren't surprised by it. You're ready, you're calm, you're immune. Anger and anxiety often come from a false sense of entitlement. We feel entitled to perfect days, polite people, smooth outcomes. But reality does not bow to your plans. Life doesn't promise fairness, it promises reality. And when your expectations are built on ideal conditions, every bump in the road feels like a disaster. To become immune to anger and anxiety, you must train your mind to anticipate imperfection, not with bitterness, but with readiness. Expect that people will interrupt. Expect that someone may lie to you. Expect that the train may be late or the deal may fall through. Not because you're pessimistic, but because you're realistic. and in that realism you find peace. This practice is known in Stoicism as premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It doesn't mean you hope for the worst. It means you prepare for it mentally. When you rehearse adversity before it arrives, you don't collapse when it does. You already have a script. You already know what you'll say, how you'll think, how you'll respond. Epictetus reminded us that when something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. You don't get to control every external event, but you do get to control your expectation of them. And when you expect that challenges will come, and you meet them with calm, the challenges lose their power over you. A prepared mind is a powerful one. Most people are emotionally fragile because they never anticipate resistance. But when you begin your day, assuming not everything will go your way, every small victory feels like a gift, and every hardship becomes a test you already trained for. Start each morning like the Stoics. Say to yourself, today will not be easy, but I will be steady. You'll find that the world no longer shocks you into anger or spins you into anxiety. You'll be like the sailor who doesn't curse the wind, but adjusts his sails, calm, ready, and always moving forward. Number 4. Own what you can control. Anxiety grows in the gap between what you want to control and what you actually can. The wider that gap, the more frustrated, angry, and restless you become. But the Stoics drew a clear line. Some things are up to you, and some things are not. Peace begins the moment you stop trying to control what never belonged to you in the first place. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the things you think about determine the quality of your mind. If your thoughts are consumed by other people's actions, random outcomes, or uncertain futures, your mind will always be in turmoil. But if your focus is placed on your own choices, your own thoughts, your own actions, then clarity follows. Control is not about power over the world, it's about power over your responses to the world. The Stoics divided life into 2 buckets: what's within your control, your judgments, your decisions, your character, and what's beyond it. The weather, the opinions of others, your past, and even your body's fate. Epictetus said, some things are up to us, and some are not. This isn't an abstract philosophy, it's the foundation of emotional stability. If you live your life fighting for control over what is outside that circle, you will lose every day. Anger often comes when someone doesn't act the way we think they should. Anxiety arises when we fear that something might not go the way we hoped. But both emotions can be reduced, even eliminated, by shifting focus inward. Ask yourself, did I do my part? Did I act with reason and integrity? Did I stay true to my principles? If the answer is yes, then the outcome, whether it's approval or rejection, success or failure, becomes secondary. You've already won. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means you channel your energy into the only place it has real impact, your own behavior. Instead of trying to fix others, you fix your attitude. Instead of obsessing over the future, you act wisely in the present. This shift doesn't make you weaker, it makes you invincible. Because no one can take away your ability to respond with clarity, no matter the situation. Seneca wrote, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." Much of our anxiety is self-inflicted. We worry about what might happen, instead of preparing for what we can control now. We fear outcomes we've never met, instead of mastering the present moment in front of us. So take a breath, bring your mind back to where your power truly lives. Your words, your actions, your attitude. That's where strength is built. That's where peace is found. And that's where the Stoic begins, not by chasing control of the world, but by mastering the only thing that's ever really yours, your own mind. Number 5. Rewrite the inner script. Every human being walks through life with a voice inside, the constant narrator that labels, interprets, judges, and replays every event. The problem is, Most people never question that voice. They assume it's speaking truth. But often it's not. It's shaped by fear, ego, and past pain. And unless you learn to rewrite the script running in your head, you'll be controlled by stories that were never designed to serve you. Marcus Aurelius knew the power of inner dialogue. In his meditations he wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your thoughts aren't just passing winds, they stain your perception, they shape your emotions, and over time they define who you become. If you let your inner voice go unchecked, it will fill your mind with anger at what others did, anxiety about what might happen, and regret over what you didn't do. That's why the Stoics practiced self-awareness. They believed that thoughts were not facts, they were choices. Epictetus reminded us, "It's not things that disturb us but our judgments about things." The moment you realize this, you unlock your ability to rewrite the internal narrative. You're no longer a victim of your thoughts, you become their editor. Imagine you get rejected from an opportunity. The untrained mind says, "I'm not good enough, I always fail. This is proof I'm worthless." But the Stoic mind pauses and rewrites the story. "That opportunity wasn't meant for me. I will improve and try again." This is a lesson, not a defeat. The event didn't change, the interpretation did. And that's everything. This practice isn't about lying to yourself or covering pain with false positivity. It's about seeing events clearly, without exaggeration, and assigning them a meaning that moves you forward instead of holding you back. The mind will naturally lean toward dramatics. The Stoic rewires it for logic and clarity. Anxiety thrives on imagined disasters. The mind starts scripting scenes that haven't happened. What if I fail? What if they laugh at me? What if I lose everything? But those are just mental rehearsals for fear. You can interrupt them. You can rewrite them. If I fail, I'll learn. If they laugh, I'll stay composed. If I lose something, I'll rebuild with strength. The script you run becomes the mood you carry, and the life you live. To rewrite your inner script, start journaling. Catch the negative loops as they arise. Question their logic. Replace them with thoughts grounded in principle, not panic. Don't let old voices decide who you are today. Create a new dialogue, one rooted in reason, resilience, and truth. You are not your fears. You are not your worst thoughts. You are the one who chooses what those thoughts mean. And that choice, made again and again, is how you build a mind immune to anger, to anxiety, and to everything else that once controlled you. Number 6. Anger is a weak habit. Break it. To many people, anger feels powerful. It flares up quickly, demands attention, and forces others to react. But the Stoics saw through that illusion. They understood that anger is not strength, it's a weakness dressed in heat. It's a loss of self-control, disguised as force. And the longer you let anger live in you, the more it eats away at your clarity, your relationships, and your peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? A harsh word may last a moment, but the damage caused by an angry reaction can echo for years." Angry people often regret what they say, but rarely what they didn't say. And that's the key. The discipline of not reacting is what separates the wise from the impulsive. Anger is rarely about the moment. It's usually the result of undisciplined thinking. Someone disrespects you, and instead of stepping back to evaluate the truth, the ego steps in and says, "How dare they?" That internal voice fans the flames. You feel wronged, so you want to strike back. But anger never improves a situation. It only clouds it. Seneca, another great Stoic, wrote an entire essay titled On Anger. In it he warns that anger is temporary madness, a state in which a person forgets reason, justice, and even their own humanity. And if you watch someone caught in a rage, you'll see it's true. Their face distorts, their words lose precision, their body tightens. In that moment, they are not in control, their emotions are. The truth is, anger is a habit. It builds every time you justify it. Every time you let it run free, it gains strength. But like any habit, it can be broken, not by suppression, but by understanding, by seeing it clearly for what it is, an emotional reflex, not a noble act. When you feel anger rising, pause and ask, what part of me feels threatened right now? Is it pride? Is it fear? Is it ego? Then ask, will my anger solve this, or will it make it worse? Most of the time, you'll realize that silence, patience, or walking away would serve you far better than a harsh word or quick retaliation. This is not weakness, this is mastery. Anyone can shout, anyone can slam a door or fire back with insults, but very few can keep their voice low, their hands steady, and their mind clear. The man who controls his anger doesn't just avoid mistakes, he commands respect. To become immune to anger, start treating it like poison. You wouldn't drink poison just because someone handed it to you. So don't drink the emotional poison of rage just because life served you something bitter. Instead, return to reason. Let clarity lead. That's how the Stoic lives, not with a loud voice, but with a quiet strength that nothing can shake. Number 7. Make time your ally. Most anxiety is a battle with time. We're afraid of what hasn't happened yet. We're haunted by what already did. The mind races ahead into imagined futures or gets stuck in old regrets. And in that tug of war between the past and the future, we lose the only thing that's ever real, the present moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." He understood that the mind must be trained to live now, not in what might be or what could have been, but in what is. Because the present moment is the only space where you have power. It's where reason lives, it's where action happens, and it's the only place where peace can grow. Think about it. Anger often clings to the past. We replay old insults, betrayals, or failures. We let them live rent-free in our minds, stealing today's energy. Anxiety, on the other hand, is usually about the future. The meeting that might go wrong, the deal that might fall through, the scenario that might embarrass us. But neither past nor future can harm you unless you mentally invite them in. Time, if misunderstood, becomes your master. But if you learn to use it properly, it becomes your greatest ally. The Stoics taught that we should be ruthless with our attention, that we should guard our focus like a soldier guards the gates of a fortress. Because every moment spent worrying about what you can't touch is a moment lost from what you can build. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," and he was right. Our minds create vivid futures that never happen, or replay past scenes that cannot be undone. But reality is always simpler. Right now you are breathing, right now you have choices, right now you are alive. That is enough. When you learn to slow down, to bring your mind back to the moment in front of you, a strange thing happens. Fear fades. You see clearly. You stop overreacting. You start responding. You become like a warrior in a storm, calm in movement, grounded in presence. One practical Stoic habit is to ask, what is the task at hand? Not what might happen tomorrow, not what happened yesterday, just what is the task at hand. When you bring your focus to that single point, your mind quiets, the noise fades, and suddenly you are back in control. So don't waste your life in mental time travel. You're not meant to live in the future or relive the past. You're meant to act now, decide now, live now. Let time work for you, not against you. The present moment is your greatest tool. Sharpen it, use it, and you'll find that anxiety and anger lose their grip, because you've reclaimed the only moment that ever truly mattered, this one. Number 8. Let insults pass through you. It's easy to feel offended. A careless word, a rude gesture, a false accusation, and suddenly your peace is gone. But the Stoics taught us something powerful. No one can insult you unless you let their words enter your soul. An insult is only noise. unless your mind turns it into a wound. Marcus Aurelius said, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." In other words, it's not the insult that hurts you. It's your decision to take it personally. The moment you accept the offense, you've given power to the offender. But when you remain calm and detached, the insult passes by like wind through a tree. It rustles your branches, but it cannot break your roots. Most people believe they must defend themselves at every turn, respond to every slight, and prove their worth through arguments. But the Stoic chooses silence over ego. Why? Because not every battle is worth fighting, especially the ones designed to pull you down. Responding to every critic, every troll, every sarcastic remark, it's exhausting, and it hands over your peace to those who haven't earned your attention. Epictetus, once a slave who became one of the wisest philosophers in history, taught that if someone insults you and it's true, accept it, learn from it, and if it's false, ignore it. Why waste energy proving something you already know? The truth doesn't need defending from fools. It simply stands. Imagine someone calls you weak. If you know you've been training your mind and body, the words have no weight. But if the insult stings, maybe it's pointing to something inside you that still needs strengthening. Either way, you win, by staying calm or by improving yourself silently. The Stoic mindset treats insults like tests. They're opportunities to practice restraint, to strengthen your emotional armor. Each time you remain unbothered, you train your mind to rise above provocation. You develop what the Stoics called apatheia, not indifference in the modern sense, but freedom from destructive emotions. You feel the sting, but you don't let it settle. Remember, when someone insults you, they're revealing more about themselves than about you. Their bitterness, their insecurity, their ignorance, it's not yours to carry. Let them shout, let them provoke. You stay rooted, you stay focused. One of the greatest demonstrations of power is not reaction, but non-reaction. When you don't flinch, when you don't defend, when you simply move forward, you disarm the attacker. They wanted drama, you gave them discipline. They wanted rage, you gave them reason. Let insults pass through you like shadows, present but powerless. You are not here to win every argument. You're here to win your inner peace. And no insult, no matter how sharp, can pierce the mind that refuses to give it meaning. That is the Stoic way. That is how you remain unshaken. Number 9. Remember that life is short. If you knew your time was running out, would you waste it being angry? Would you let anxiety steal your hours, your attention, your days? The Stoics believed that one of the most powerful ways to gain control over your emotions was to remember this one truth: you are mortal. You are not promised tomorrow. And because of that, you must treat each moment like a gift, not a burden. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, and say and think." This wasn't meant to scare you. It was meant to wake you up. When you live as if life is endless, you start wasting time on grudges, fears, petty arguments, and imagined problems. But when you remember that every breath might be your last, you choose your responses more wisely. Anger suddenly feels foolish when you realize how little time you have. Why waste an hour being furious at someone who cut you off in traffic? Why replay an old insult 100 times in your head when those minutes could have been spent building something meaningful, helping someone, or simply enjoying peace? Anxiety, too, begins to shrink under the light of mortality. Much of what we fear never even happens, and yet we give it our precious energy. But if today were your last day, would that fear matter? Would that failure define you? Would that opinion still have weight? Likely not. You'd want to spend the day wisely, calmly, gratefully, and courageously. Seneca urged his readers to reflect on death, not with dread, but with clarity. In his letter, On the Shortness of Life, he writes, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." When you remember that life is limited, You stop wasting it on things that don't matter. You become less reactive, more intentional. This is the Stoic practice of memento mori, Latin for remember that you will die. It's not a dark obsession with death. It's a bright reminder to live better. It gives you urgency, it gives you focus, and most importantly, it gives you perspective. The next time anger rises, pause and ask, is this worth my time, my breath, my energy? The next time anxiety tries to take over, ask, what would I do if I knew this might be my last week? These questions don't make you morbid, they make you wise. They pull you out of emotional noise and into grounded awareness. You don't control how long you live, but you do control how deeply you live. And every time you choose peace over rage, presence over fear, and wisdom over impulse, you're making the most of the time you've been given. That's the Stoic way, not to live forever, but to live fully, with nothing wasted. Number 10. Live like a guardian of the inner fortress. Every day the world will try to invade your peace. An insult, a distraction, a fear, a setback. And if you have no walls around your mind, everything gets in. You react, you break, you panic. But the Stoics believed that the wise person lives like a guardian, posted at the gates of their own mind, deciding carefully what to let in and what to keep out. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts." In other words, your mind is not just a sponge, absorbing whatever it encounters. It's a fortress, and you are the gatekeeper. You don't have to accept every thought. You don't have to internalize every emotion. You don't have to allow every fear, insult, or doubt to take root. The world is loud. People complain, provoke, and panic. News headlines stir fear. Social pressure stirs anxiety. But the Stoic doesn't open the gate just because someone's knocking. He asks, is this useful? Is this rational? Will this strengthen my character or weaken it? And if the answer is no, he lets it pass. This inner fortress isn't about isolation, it's about sovereignty. It's about owning your space, your thoughts, your emotions. Just like you wouldn't leave your home unlocked at night, don't leave your mind open to every passing worry. Build strong walls, not of stone, but of reason, values, and discipline. Epictetus taught, you may not control events, but you can control your attitude toward them. That attitude is the foundation of your fortress. It means deciding, ahead of time, how you will deal with hardship, how you will handle disrespect, how you will act when tested. When the crisis comes, you don't collapse. You follow the plan you've already trained for. Part of guarding your mind is daily maintenance. The Stoics journaled, they reflected, they reviewed their day like a commander inspecting the fortress. What did I allow in today? Was it anger? Was it envy? Was it fear? And if it slipped through the gate, what allowed it in? This is how they got stronger, not by ignoring the breach, but by learning from it and sealing the cracks. When you live like a guardian of the inner fortress, your life changes. You stop overreacting. You start responding with clarity. You walk with presence. People notice your steadiness, not because you never feel emotion, but because you are no longer ruled by it. The fortress is your mind. The enemy is anything that tries to take your clarity, your peace, your reason, and you are the gatekeeper. Stand guard, stay ready. And remember, no one enters unless you open the door. That is the final lesson. That is how you remain unshaken. The battle for peace is not fought on the outside, it's fought within. Anger and anxiety are not enemies that come knocking with swords and shields. They arrive quietly, through unguarded thoughts, unchecked habits, and unconscious reactions. But the Stoics gave us the blueprint to fight back, not with aggression, but with awareness. Not by trying to control the world, but by learning to master ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca didn't write for comfort. They wrote for strength. They taught that calm is not a gift. It is built, daily, through discipline. They showed us that we always have a choice, even in chaos. A choice to pause, a choice to stay still, a choice to think clearly when the world around us spins in noise and emotion. These 10 lessons are not just theories. They are tools. Tools to build a mind that cannot be shaken by insults, weakened by fear, or pulled apart by uncertainty. Tools to help you live deliberately, aware, present, and strong. And the greatest truth of all is this: no one can take your peace unless you hand it over. No insult, no outcome, no opinion has the power to break you unless you invite it in. So choose differently. Choose to respond, not react. Choose to guard your mind like a fortress. Choose to think like a Stoic, calm, rational, unmoved by drama, and fully alive in the present. Because when you do, anger no longer controls you, anxiety no longer defines you. You become something rare, something powerful. You become immune,